U.S. Steel shares plunged amid growing uncertainty over its possible merger with Japan's Nippon Steel. Now, this comes after the Washington Post reported President Biden is ready to formally block the proposed $14 billion acquisition. However, the White House downplayed the report, saying talks among U.S. officials remain ongoing. So for more on this, I'm joined by CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes. All right, Nancy, what more do we know about this potential deal and why President Biden would want to block it?
So we know, Anne-Marie, that a government review has been underway for some time, taking a look at this potential deal and the national security ramifications. And while that review has not yet been completed, there are signs that the U.S. government is leaning towards concluding that the national security concerns associated with selling a major U.S. manufacturer like U.S. Steel to a foreign government would have national security implications that could not be mitigated. And we certainly have signs as well from President Biden and Vice President Harris that they don't favor the deal either. This is controversial, however, because U.S. Steel itself is saying we want to be sold. We want to be sold to a Japanese company. Japan is an ally. It is not an enemy of the United States. So they say there are no national security implications here. And furthermore, they say that Japan is going to invest in U.S. Steel. And so if this deal doesn't go through, they're actually going to lose workers potentially. So it is an issue where we're in an election year. U.S. Steel is based in Pittsburgh, in the largest battleground state in the country. Steel workers and the unions, we know, favor the ownership of this company remaining in the U.S., but you've got the company itself saying, actually, we'll be stronger if we're sold. This is a really sticky situation, Anne-Marie.
It definitely is. It's really fascinating. And I want to ask you a question about something else I find completely fascinating. I totally went down a rabbit hole with this. The Justice Department announced that it seized dozens of web domains and filed charges against 2 Russian operatives. The Attorney General outlined sort of a disinformation scheme, pretty widespread, using influencers, American influencers. I want to play a little bit of what he had to say yesterday.
It's coming faster and faster. It's now AI fueled. They're now using bot farms in a way that was not possible before. And therefore, it's a bigger threat than it ever was before.
Just to clarify, this is a scheme that the Justice Department says the Russian government was behind. Can you talk a little bit about this disinformation scheme and sort of like what sort of information was being pumped out there?
Yes, so they say that a pair of Russians who work for RT, the Russian media outlet, spent more than $10 million, first of all, to set up a company in Tennessee to pump out disinformation. That is illegal. That is money laundering. And that they also paid influencers, as you pointed out, to pump out propaganda that was favorable to the Russian government. And sometimes that meant sowing disinformation about the U.S. election on both sides. And sometimes that even meant that they were imitating legitimate U.S. news websites like the Washington Post to make them look like they were saying something that they weren't. And so now the Justice Department has gotten involved. It just gives you a sense, Anne-Marie, of how widespread the efforts are to sow disinformation ahead of the November elections.
Indeed, and how this messaging can be very subtle, not necessarily overt, but it is crafted to get your attention and plant seeds. It's really interesting. Nancy, thank you.